Hello YouTube folks, welcome to my channel. My name is Steph and today we're going to be doing something a little scary for me, but I'm doing this for you. I am going to be talking about 10 books and series, there's also series in this one, that I love. That I'm a little embarrassed how much I love them and that I love them in general. Like, these are like guilty pleasures, moderately poorly written books that are really popular that I also am part of the hype for. Lots of mixed emotions in this one today. Buckle up. We're starting off strong with ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is the full, all the books that are released right now, minus, I know there's like stuff with Crescent City. I haven't even read that series though. I especially really love, oh my god, there's so many books. I especially really love the first three, Court of Thorns and Roses, Court of Mist and Fury, Court of Wings and Ruin. I read this during COVID. If you don't know what it's about, I am absolutely shell-shocked. But it's about this girl who has two older sisters that she needs to take care of because nobody else will take care of their little poor family. She hunts, she kills a wolf, a fairy who can turn into a wolf kidnaps her and takes her to fairyland. I love this series. I think it is like the epitome of all things guilty pleasure. Like, there's this love that is a little bit like Teen Wolf Vampire Diaries vibes. There's fairies, which is very in style. Sarah J. Maas loves to make everyone so beautiful. It's unimaginable, but somehow each new person is more beautiful and powerful and exquisite than the next. First three are not terribly smutty. There is a lot of conversations regarding sex and there are some like good sexual tension moments, but the real smut doesn't start until like book 3 and then obviously book 5 with Nesta and Cassian's perspective. If you know, you know. If you know, you know with that book. But I just liked the story and I liked the world. I thought Feyre was a fine main character. I mean, she's kind of like one of those main heroines that are like personality-less besides being a heroine. And sometimes if it's in a situation and in a story that works in, it works, you know? Like, no, I have no hate for this series. I do have a little bit of a struggle with the community that obsesses over the smut in this because honestly, like, the world's really interesting and it's really cool how Sarah J. Maas has been weaving all of her different really long series together. Again, if you know, you know. I haven't read any of the other series, Throne of Glass or Crescent City, because they're just so long. I don't have time to commit to that right now. Maybe someday when like everything is finished, then I'll reread these and get into those. But I liked the world, man. I liked the fighting, and especially book 1 with what's her name, Amarantha or whatever. The trials at the end, like I loved these first 3 books. And the next 2, you know, everyone knows that, what is it, Silver? A Court of Frost and Starlight is basically like a Hallmark movie. It's like the Christmas episode of the series. So it's a little bit, you kind of have to read this one as though it's fan fiction. Because it's like, it sticks out like a sore thumb in my opinion. But I like this series. I actually do recommend this book, and I do hype it up. Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm done talking about it. Next up on my guilty pleasures list is one that I feel like I would have different opinions on if I read it as a full-grown adult, but I read this series when I was middle school or high school, I don't know, and I loved it. And that is Divergent by Veronica Roth. I loved this trilogy. Again, like, I haven't read it in so long that I feel like I may not like it anymore. The end of the 3rd book made me absolutely ugly cry. I actually have a memory of, like, crying so hard and running down the stairs and my mom being like, what's wrong? Like thinking I, like, hurt myself or I don't know, something happened and I was like, my book and it's so sad. Like, so embarrassing. But I loved this series, and I watched the movies when I was a kid, and yeah, they're pretty bad, but so are a lot of, like, movie adaptations of young adult novels. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows about this series as well. It's about this world where everyone's put into factions. There's like, oh god, do I even remember? Dauntless, Amity, Erudite, Candor, and whatever the one that she starts off in. I don't remember that one. Does anyone? When you turn 16 or 18 or something, you get to change what faction you're in, or you can stay. Most people stay, and she ends up going from the ones that value modesty and plainness and like equality and whatever to the fighter community, and they find out that their factions are part of a much bigger governmental scheme thing. I loved this series when I was a child. This will forever remain in my heart as, God, these books are so heavy. They're all hardcovers, and they're also ancient. I don't know if you can see, but the paper is like yellow. But I loved this series as a kid. I may reread it again someday. I don't know. I kind of don't want to, because I feel like I won't like it anymore, and then the magic will be broken, because I loved this series when I was a kid. Divergent. Alright, now we're going to talk about a solo book, and this I actually have recommended in quite a few videos. Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. I think it's like her first young adult book, because I know Spiderwick Chronicles were her first like blockbuster hit, and it was like geared towards middle schoolers, right? But this was her first young adult book. If you like Evanescence, if you like Linkin Park, I would recommend this book, because like it is so emo. But it's well written because it's Holly Black. She's an incredible author. But it's about this world where vampires exist. Already, right? We're off to a good start. There's vampires that exist, and they are kept in like this little isolated, it's almost like a reservation called Cold Town. And once you go, you can't come back. Humans go there. They really shouldn't, though, and they usually end up getting tortured or turned or whatever happened, eaten, right? And this girl's sister or best friend or something ends up going to Cold Town, and she goes to Cold Town to try to save her. And it's like everyone wears Vans that they draw on with Sharpie, and it's very like the cut bangs and emo angst vibes. Like if you've ever seen the music video to, I don't know, Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, it's this, right? Like you could just play Evanescence core music and read this book. But no, I'm not like embarrassed that I like this one, but every time I recommend this book to people, I have to preface it with like, it's goth. It's giving like 2008 core goth. So if that is something that makes you cringe or is not something that interests you, don't read this one, because as good as the story is and the world is and everything, it's a major line throughout the story. Oh my god, all these books are heavy. Anyway, next series, and this is part of a much bigger universe that tons and tons of people, I'm sure, are aware of, but that is the Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare. I read all of the Mortal Instruments books when I was a kid, and I had them, but I recently donated them because I found out that it's like Ron and Ginny fan fiction. I don't know. I heard that. I don't know if it's true. I don't really care though, because ever since I heard that, I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I donated the original plot. But I have these still because I really liked the romance, the love triangle. This is definitely a guilty pleasure. Cassandra Clare's first books were definitely, Mortal Instruments series were definitely like showing signs of being a first series. So many things happen in those books that just don't have to happen, have nothing to do with the plot, but are just like more things that happen. But the world is cool, you know. I'm sure everyone knows about Mortal Instruments too. It's about this world where shadow hunters exist, and a shadow hunter is a half human, half angel, descendant, whatever. They fight demons, and there's lots of other, like, every supernatural creature that exists is in this world. I also started reading, what's the other one with, like, it's like Last Midnight or something, the one about Annabelle Lee. I started reading those books, but only the first book was out when I first read it, and I was like so angry with the ending that if I didn't have the second book right away, I wasn't gonna read it. So I kind of gave up on the Mortal Instruments world. I struggle when worlds just live on and on and on and on forever, and it feels like if you don't read all the books, it's what's the point of reading some of them, you know, even if there are separate series. I heard the most recent series that's come out with like the dress with bees in it or whatever, I can see the cover but I can't remember the name of it, is really good, I've heard. But this one was my fave. It takes place in like 1800s or whatever. I think it's like Jack the Ripper era, and this girl finds out she's a shadow hunter, has two guys that she's really into. The love story is honestly my favorite part, which is probably why it's also like embarrassing to admit, because as complex as the world is for me with this series, the love triangle is my favorite part. And I'm not typically like the type of person who reads a book for the romance. I like when romance is an exciting addition to a story. Oh my god, these books are so heavy. It's like hurting my wrist. I have to put them down. The Clockwork series, Princess, Angel, whatever, by Cassandra Clare, is definitely a guilty pleasure. And I haven't read those either since I think I really got into the Mortal Instruments series when I was in high school. So, you know, it's been 7 or 8 years, but that one is my favorite out of all the things I did read. The next book I want to talk about, and this isn't necessarily something I'm embarrassed to like or a guilty pleasure, it's just I wanted to include it because I have some thoughts and I haven't really talked about them. That is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This was the last book I read in 2023. I finished it on New Year's Eve. Such a weird book to end the year on, but it's roughly based on the author's true lived experiences. She won't talk about what parts are real and what aren't, but it's about this girl who goes to a prep school. She's 15 or something when the relationship starts. She is coerced into an abusive relationship with one of her teachers, and it's dual storyline. It's like her at the time the relationship is happening, and her as a full-grown adult kind of dealing with the aftermath of what happened and the repercussions and the trauma, right? She's working through that too. But I added this because I really wanted it to be a favorite read of last year because I loved the writing. I loved the authenticity of this story, especially as a woman. This is a very real thing that a lot of girls go through. Even if it's not quite to the level that she went through, like having a full-blown relationship. I struggle to call it that, but with an adult man, a much significantly older adult man, like lower key, nuanced ways that these situations can happen in girls and that are common, and that really struck a chord with me. I wanted this to be a favorite read last year, but it felt wrong being like a book about a teenage girl and a 50-year-old man being in a relationship is my favorite book. Like, that feels wrong. I don't want to say that I love this book because I don't want to communicate a message that I support this idea or I glorify this idea, because obviously I don't. It felt more like a very eye-opening opportunity to learn from a fictitious way of communicating this very real happenstance, this very real thing that a lot of girls go through and that a lot of men do. So I added this on my list because I'm not guilty that I enjoyed this book a lot, but it feels wrong to say it's like one of my favorite books considering the content of the story. My Dark Vanessa. More heavy books. So this is another series that I read when I was high school, middle school, I don't know. And I was really into angels. I was really into the concept of angels as the magic system in a fantasy series. And I read the series when I was a kid, and then I actually reread it 3 summers ago, and I still loved it. I still loved it, y'all, and I'm guilty as charged. That is the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. Oh my god, it hurts my arm. I like can't. I'm just gonna hold up the first book. I can't hold all four. Hush Hush. Oh my god, look at that cover. Gagged. It's about these people who are half angel, half human. There's like a name for them, but I don't remember. And fallen angels can't feel, like literally physically can't feel, they can't taste, like they don't have sensation besides probably just sight and sound. And there's like a day every year or 2 days every year that they can take over the bodies of half angel, half humans and explore their physical senses, which obviously is really invasive, right, for the half humans, half angels. And this girl, god, it's so hard to like explain what happens without giving away the like big plot, whatever. I'm just gonna say it. Spoilers if you haven't read it. I'd be shocked if you didn't read this when you were 12. But a fallen angel is tasked with guarding this girl because they think she's being sought after by the half angel, half demon people to kill or something, and she ends up falling in love with him, and he, whatever, I don't know, he's like emo and pretty bad at communicating, and she's very fat phobic, and it's such a problematic series. It really is. There's so many plot holes too, especially as you get to like book 3 and 4, and like they did that thing where like she lost all her memories and they fall in love again. It's like, oh my god. But I still like it. I really like the series. I do. It's again kind of like Coldest Girl in Cold Town. It's very emo, very of the 2010s, 2005 to 10 vibes. And god, look at these covers. I'll show the other ones too. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Oh my god, this is the best one. Why is he shirtless? Why? Why is he shirtless? And the back has like these weird people in hoods. But look at that. Don't tell anyone I like that series. Alright, we're getting to the nitty gritty, y'all. We're getting to the nitty gritty. My next guilty pleasure book that I love. And this was... Oh, I just showed it. My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This was my top 10 reads of last year. I don't know if this just hit me at a really good time or whatever, but this is a plotless book. This is vibes. Nothing happens. Except for maybe twice. I can't imagine this is for most people. I can't imagine a lot of people like this book because literally nothing happens. It's about this girl who believes if she sleeps for a whole year straight, she'll come out anew. She'll come out fresh. So she takes hella drugs. She does really horrible things to her body in order to induce slumber. And her best friend tries to pull her out. There's like a guy involved, and her like doctor who prescribes her medicine that's not even legal. Like, it's just vibes. It's vibes. And she like starts to lose memories. She starts to lose track of time and is doing things while she's like sleeping that she doesn't know she's doing. So this is definitely a guilty pleasure. I can't imagine that many people like this book, but I think this was like my third favorite read of last year. It was, and maybe it just hit me at a good time, but the vibes, immaculate in my Year of Rest and Relaxation. Second to last on this list, but probably the most embarrassing. Let me give you a little debrief. This was my first Angel series that I read when I was a wee lass. I loved it so much that I wrote fan fiction about it. And I completely stole the world and the magic system and wrote my own series about my own characters in this world and totally stole the plot. I just wrote like new people into it, probably so I could feel like I was inserted in the story, right? You know, as children do. And I called it Silver Shot. Don't tell anyone. But that is Fallen. by Lauren Kate. Clearly we're seeing a trend. Folks. I'm embarrassed of all my emo-demo loves when it comes to literature because it was such a thing for me. I was totally like an emo kid. Totally, cut my own bangs and walked around the hallways with earbuds in, hoping I was looking threatening. I'm sure I mildly succeeded, but only mildly. But again, I have to go through these covers because they're so iconic. Look at that. She has like a lace glove on. Incredible. Incredible. Oh my god, this one. Slay. I think they're actually making a series. I don't know. Oh my god, this one's the worst one. Look at that. Ew! Look at her face. I don't know. I wonder if that's like a real woman or if it's like a drawing. I hope it's a real woman. I would like to meet her someday and ask what it's like to be the main character in this series. However, Fallen, it's about angels, as you guessed. But this girl, she sees shadows, and so she thinks she's crazy because they move. They look kind of like ethereal entities. So she gets put in this asylum school for crazy kids, and she finds out that angels exist and there's a curse on her and this one particular handsome boy angel guy. And there's 4 books of really underdeveloped plot and one-dimensional characters, and everyone likes her, even though she's completely personalityless. And also her and the guy are so toxic, like even to the level where it's like, why would you let anyone say that to you? Or why did you misunderstand that? Or even I think in book 2 it's she jumps through a portal, or I don't know, somehow she disappears right after he says something. Instead of being what did you mean by that? She was jumps in a portal or whatever and just disappeared. Obviously when I was a child and I read this, I was period, stick it to him. Tell him you did that. But now as a full-grown adult, when I reread this, actually right after I reread Hush Hush that same summer 2 or 3 years ago, I was what? It's giving Degrassi. It's giving Pretty Little Liars. How did you not... for me, I would turn back and be what did you mean by that? Or I'd be who is she? Why are you saying this? You know what I'm saying? And instead she's I'm going to interpret that all on my own. Whatever comes to mind is definitely accurate. And then at the end of the book, we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to find out that it's not true. Everyone likes her, too. She's, so special that everyone likes her romantically or as a friend. I loved this series. I really did. And I remember reading Lauren Kate's other series, Teardrop. It's about mermaids, I think, or something, or people who can move water. And I was so upset that it wasn't the same vibes, that it wasn't the same as this, that I tossed it into the river. I said goodbye to Teardrop because I had this weird thing where when I was a kid that I didn't understand that authors wrote multiple things. So instead of seeking out, if I liked a series, I wouldn't look for other books by the same author. I would look for other books with the same vibes, the same story. So I would read Fallen and then I would search in Amazon or Google or whatever, angel books, instead of being oh, Lauren Kate, I liked that book, let me look for her. I don't know. I was 11. Don't come for me. I don't know anything. Next book, Guilty Pleasure, definitely is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is a classic. Sylvia Plath is a really, should I say controversial? She's a really interesting writer. Definitely one of those people that is admired because the capacity of what she could have written could have been really insane and cool, but she committed suicide before she could probably get all of her ideas out. It's about this girl who slowly goes crazy. And that's kind of it. And the reason why this is on this list is because I really enjoyed it. However, it's definitely problematic. There's a lot of signs of the times. God, when was this even written? 1971. So it's actually not that old, but there's a lot of really racist, sexist things that happen in this book that of course I acknowledge, and I read and I go, okay, like this is not obviously something I'm going to digest the same I'm going to digest the rest of the book, because it's not okay. However, it is, you know, a book from over 50 years ago, so I also recognize that maybe during this time it was okay to write like this. And the main character is really unlikable too, because she is the one who is being racist and accepting the sexism around her, but she's also going crazy. So it's like, how far will you go to criticize somebody's lack of empathy when they are not even in reality? You know what I'm saying? But I really liked this book, and I know a lot of people really hate it because of the problematic situations in it, but I'm very capable of reading problematic content and going, okay, that was problematic. I recognize that. I'm going to acknowledge that every time I think or talk about this book, but I'm also going to acknowledge that there's more to the book than just the bad stuff. So I liked it. Bell jar. All right, last one on this list. I don't even know, like, if people know about this series, because I don't see a lot of stuff about it online ever. And this, I remember, I haven't reread it, this series, since I was a kid. But I think I'm going to reread it this summer, because all three of the books are really short. But I remember thinking it was a brilliant concept when I was a child. Very Handmaid's Tale. But this is the Eve trilogy by Anna Carey. These covers are also iconic. Let me show. She's redheaded. Shocking. Fiery girl, has red hair. Then I think it's this one. Oh yeah, now she has a purple dress. Look at that, like, CGI cover. It's just so iconic. And she's sitting on train tracks. Looks like she's underwater, but she's not underwater, I promise. But again, like I said, this is like Handmaid's Tale. It's about this future where, I don't know if it's like there was a war and a lot of people died, or if there was a disease that killed a lot of people, but essentially population levels are extremely, extremely low. And so they basically farm girls to breed children to bring the population back up. And this girl, and the girls don't know. They're like just in the school. They're taught like outside of the school is this crazy, scary wilderness, and that men will like attack you and torture you, and men are evil, and there's no men allowed. Very gender dichotomy. So that's a rip. Definitely sign of the times again. This definitely came out in like 2004 or something like that. Let me see. 2011. Oh no, it's even more recent than I thought. So this girl goes to the school. One of her friends like disappears, gets taken to be bred or whatever. And it's very surgical too. Like there's no romance or men involved. It's very like implant the baby into you over and over, whatever type thing. But this girl's friend disappears, is getting bred. She finds her, finds out what's happening, because nobody knows. Obviously the girls would like not be okay with this if they all knew. But she runs away. She goes out into the wilderness and she meets this like gaggle of ruffian men, and of course at first she believes everything she was taught, and she was like terrified. She thought they were going to hurt her, they were evil, couldn't control their impulses, whatever. And then one of them is really nice to her, and they end up having a little romance. It's definitely a romantic series, another continuation of like bad communication causing all of the issues in the romance type thing. Such a trend of this time. But also I just remember really liking the concept and feeling like it was really realistic, potentially, right? Just like Handmaid's Tale. I think I actually have it like right, where is it? Oh, it's down there, you can't see it. Handmaid's Tale is renowned because people believe it could happen if the situation were to arise, and this version of that same sort of dystopian fear was written for my age group when I was a kid. So I really attached to it, and I thought it was really interesting. And the way, I'm not going to spoil it, but the way they kind of like end the series, the way they quote unquote resolve the situation of the world is really cool. I think I'm going to reread this. Maybe I'll do a video on it. But yeah, it's the Eve series. Oh my god. I'm going to read the back to you because it's so iconic. Where will I go? I asked. my voice trembling. The forest spilled out before me, its hillsides lit only by the perfect glowing moon. This was it, where I came from, where I was going, my past, my future. If you continue straight for 2 miles, you'll come to a road. How does she know what 2 miles looks like? How? She's in the same place always. Her thin lips moved slowly as she spoke. Find the signs marked 80 and go west, toward the setting sun. Stay near the road, but not on it. I wanted to ask teacher more. Oh, teacher told her to leave. I forgot that. But just then the beam of the guard's flashlight rounded the corner of the dormitory building. Teacher Florence pushed me forward. Go, now, she urged. Go! And as fast as the door opened, it closed behind me, leaving me alone in the cold, starless night. So iconic, so of the times. I think I actually am going to reread this and make a little video on it because just so iconic. And you can tell how old it is again, like how yellow the pages are. So funny. All right, folks, that wraps up 10 books and series that I do love. I truly do. I truly, really like these. From ACOTAR to Fallen to My Dark Vanessa. All of them, I like them a lot. But I definitely have a little embarrassment about it. I definitely feel like some of them are guilty pleasures. Some of them are overhyped, and I see that and I get that, but I still love them. And some of them are controversial, but for me personally, I really like them, and it just is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you want to do. I am not your mother. Let me know if you have any opinions on any of these books down below, because I'm sure you do. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.